few requests for doing a sharpening video, and I've kind of stayed away from sharpening video just simply because there's a lot of them out there, and that's how I learned, was watching YouTube, mainly Captain Eddie. Back in the day when I was learning how to sharpen my own tools, and I downloaded his Black Hawk jig to sharpen my gouges with. Puts a really nice Ellsworth grind on them, and everything. But I've always been using a grinder. It's a 6-inch cheap grinder with the original wheels, and you know, not really the absolute best performance. So I've designed and built a new sharpener that I've been using, you know, and it works really good, and I can sharpen almost anything in the shop with it. But today I'm going to be focusing on mainly just wood turning tools. But I am able to sharpen table saw blades, bandsaw blades, planer knives, chisels, all my gouges, everything on this thing, and I'll show it to you a little bit as we go along. But yeah, I got tired of having to constantly dress a wheel, and you know, all the adjustments and stuff that it takes to use that. And I came up with this design for this thing. So, but I'm going to show you that now, and we'll kind of jump right into to sharpening up some things. And what I'll do is I'll get started with skews, some of the flat blades and stuff first, and we'll do a skew, parting tools, and roughing gouges, because I do all of those with one fixture. Alright, well, let's get started and see how it goes. Alright, well, this is my sharpener, and basically my idea was instead of adjusting a tool rest for my bevel, I would adjust this flat wheel. Now, these flat wheels I get from THK Diamond Tools. They're in Hong Kong, but their website is www.thk.hk, and when that comes up, you'll see all their products, and their, you know, mainly jewelry type stuff, and that's what these wheels are made for the jewelry industry. But I took that wheel and mounted it on a motor, and so in such a way that I can tilt it. And now I keep my tool rest flat. Instead of trying to adjust the tool rest every time, I adjust my motor, you know, and it adjusts right there. But and that way, to me, it seems easier, because I can set a bevel in, I can draw a line or a mark, and I can always come back to that same thing. I know the tool rest stays flat as long as I tighten it up. The tool rest stays flat, and I change the bevel here. It's the exact same every time I do it, so it's repeatable, and it's fairly quick. I don't have to keep getting down to the side and match my bevel up to the stone. So, but anyway, with a skew, we'll start out with the skews, and we'll kind of look at it first. And you can see this skew here. You can see how I've grinded on the outside of the bevel and the inside of the bevel. That's because I've been using a grinder, and it leaves a concave surface there, and I'll come back and I'll hit it with a whetstone and polish those edges out and make it sharper. But I put it on this, and now I've got it hits the top and the bottom at the same time, and eventually I'll get rid of that concave, but right now this thing is razor blade sharp. But I'll show you how I got that edge right here with the way this thing's set up now. Right now it's set up for a skew. I've already got the bevel angle set, and I'll just come in here and I'll show you how this works. I've got my bevel set for my skews, and they're all the same. I couldn't actually tell you what the bevel angle is because I set this up just according to the bevel that was on the skew. But anyway, let's go. Now this thing comes down on this side and up on that side, but I'll show you I can actually sharpen on either side of this thing that I want to. But I come in, my tool rest holds my tool flat, and I just come across a couple times. And the good thing with this, with the diamonds and this kind of a slow speed, it doesn't overheat your steel. The steel's still nice and cool. And then I'll come to this side. And you can see, wow, right there, that is very sharp. Alright, let me see. I've got a piece of wood right here. Now that's just, you know, messing with the skew a little bit. Now watch. Now that's sharp. That skew is sharp. And let me turn this off. And I'll go and I'll do my other. My other was in a little bit rougher shape. It was I was hand sharpening these things, and it really it wasn't the same every time. So now I'm kind of in the process, and you can see here where there's a little bit, this is flat where I've already put it on here. This is flat, but this is still concave. So my edge doesn't look as good as it could. The whole thing's not perfectly flat yet. But eventually, as I sharpen this thing, that'll become dead flat on both sides. So I'm not really worried about that right now. But I'm leaving it set up just like I did for the first skew. Turn it on. And now I'm going to do this one. There again. Got my bevel set here. And I'm flat on my tool rest. And I don't have to worry about anything else except holding this thing flat and making contact. And this thing does not get hot. And I'm just trying to hold this edge parallel with the front right here. And those diamonds cut steel very, very, very well. Coming across. Now, I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Maybe you can see it. It won't go. It loses its focus. But there's a very fine burr right here on this edge. Now that burr, the first time you touch it to wood, that burr will be gone. Or you can take a honing stone and just knock that burr off like that. But let's look at this skew. Let's see how it does. See if it'll take a shaking off of here. Yes, it will. Let's look at it this way. Find my bevel. I mean, it's sharp. That thing is sharp. That thing is very sharp. Alright. Okay, well that's the skews. All you need is is to maintain that bevel. The bevel is the key to sharpening everything in your shop. If you can keep the bevel right and keep it consistent, then you can sharpen anything in your shop. Let's look at parting tools now. It's another one of your flat tools. Let me set this for parting tool. It goes right to here. Alright. That should be set up for my parting tool. Move this in just a touch. Okay. Now, I think I just messed up my. There we go. Alright. Now I'm just going to stand it straight up and hold it 90 degrees to this front edge here. Okay, it just rolled the burr. A little burr right here on the very front. And that thing is super sharp. Alright, let's see. Let's see how it does on my block. As I cut. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera too, but as you can see, this thing just cuts like crazy. It cuts really good. Alright, and I'm not really sure what that bevel is, but whatever bevel yours starts with is the way you always set up your tools, whether it's a grinder or a slow turn grinder or however. But that's you know, you just set your tool up to match your bevel, and that's what I did with this. I set my bevel here until this comes up and touches, and I make sure it touches at the bottom here and at the top up here, and then I turn it on and see where it hits. If it touches at the top just a little bit more than the bottom, then I'll tilt it back just a little bit more until I get that bevel right, and then I'll set it and I'll make my mark, and that way I can come back to it every time I want to sharpen a parting tool. Okay, so I'll sharpen this other parting tool. It hasn't been touched by this thing yet, but everything stays the same. And there again, I'm trying to stay 90 degrees. 90 degrees to the front of this. Okay. We'll bring it in until it touches. Okay. Now you can see how this side here, let me get it to the camera. You can see how this side here I haven't touched yet. This side here is polished on the bottom and the top. Okay, and you want to keep that in the middle there. You want to keep your point even with the middle of your thing. So now I'll go to the other side. Now I'm sharp up here and on this side. So that should be sharp. And it is sharp. Look at it. It wants to dig. I'm trying to use it like a chisel, and it's not really a chisel. But you can see That thing cuts wood very well. That is a very, very sharp tool right there. And then my roughing gouge. This is from this is my Carter and Sons roughing gouge. Thank you, Carl and Alan, for the Christmas Ornament Challenge this year. Once again, and I'm going to set. Now I'm going to set it for doing my roughing gouge. Just here. Let's see if I can find my. Okay, there's my roughing gouge. I've got it marked back over here. I'll bring it up to there, lock it down, and I'm ready to sharpen my roughing gouge. Just a touch. Okay. All right. Now we are ready to do the roughing gouge. All right. And the way I sharpen a roughing gouge is I put it on my tool rest and I just roll it. Just roll it just like this against the wheel, making sure to keep it straight. Now there's jigs that you can use that holds the bottom in place while you rotate, and if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine. I found that just freehanding it like this works just fine. And I'll normally start on this side here, hold it 90 degrees to the tool rest, and touch it, and just start rolling. Until I get all the way over. And just that one pass has made that thing very, very sharp. Of course, you got to know what the bevel angle is too when you go to do that. But you can see right there, this thing is sharp. Let's see if I can get on this side where I can actually see a little bit better. See if I can. I'm standing almost straight up. Trying to find the bevel without arcing it over is I'm getting a little better with it. But it will cut very well if I could keep from turning down like that and pulling it back up out. This thing works really good. Well, you see that shaving. And this is just, you know, with my hands. Just like that. Very, very sharp tool. Very sharp tool. And I have rarely, this was the second time I've had to sharpen this tool since I got it last January. And I use this tool almost every day. It is very, very, very sharp. And it holds an edge very well. But that's how I do roughing gouges. I do it the same, with the same setup as my skews and everything else. Alright, let me swap over to gouges and I'll be right back. Okay, in order to do my gouges, screwdriver right there. This, I've built a thing here to match up to Captain Eddie's Black Hawk rig. Okay, it's 7 inches out from the face and 4 inches down from center to right there. And it uses this little block right here to give me the proper angle and bevel on my tool. And the way that works is your tool goes through here, and it protrudes out the front exactly 2 inches. Okay, once it's there, then you can tighten it down. I need a wrench. Now the only other thing you have to really worry about is if your tool is 90 degrees. Okay, it has to be 90 degrees, or else you get more cut on one side of the bevel than the other. And if you would like to look at Captain Eddie's Black Hawk rig, I'll leave a link in the video for that. But the way this works is this comes in. I've already got my back plate back here set for bowl gouges, and this right here, it puts that perfect angle on there every time. It puts it right where I want it. And I'll come around on this way, and I'll come around this way. I can even come to this side if I would like to and use it pulling up. You know, just, you know, maybe to just do something a little different, I guess. But I'm going to experiment on both sides to see if I can actually get it sharper one way or the other. But both of these are the exact same height, and they're the exact same distance from the wheel. So both should give me the same cuts. But this is the way I do my bowl gouges. This is 2 inches back from the very tip. And I'll double check that again, because it has to be exactly 2 inches. And it is. Tighten down my bolt. Now I'll start up and we'll sharpen the bowl gouge. Okay. So this involves this right here. Okay. Now I can see how because I haven't sharpened this on this yet, and I can see how my other grinder has got this bevel kind of messed up just a little bit. If you can see the shininess on this bevel here, you can see it's cutting all the way back here, and it's cut around the top to right there, but it skipped down to there. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on this one until I get it right. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna do this side on this side of the wheel up to the front. And then I'll come to this side of the wheel and take over from there. And I don't have to worry about overheating my bevel or my steel. Very light touch. If you're trying to remove metal, that doesn't mean you have to push harder. It means you just have to work it a little bit longer. Okay, now that gouge is ready to go. Okay, now I pulled a burr on the inside here. There's a burr there. Let's take this off. Let's see how it does on the piece of wood. It does have a burr on it, but let's just see what we got here. It's kind of a hard angle to get. You can see that shaving, it's pulling. I mean that gouge is sharp right there. That gouge is very, very, very sharp. Don't know if you can see. We'll go across the grain there. Very, very sharp. Okay. And I'll do all my gouges, all my bowl gouges that way. I use the same angle on all of them. It's right at 55 degrees. But just like Captain Eddie says, it doesn't matter what bevel you use as long as you're comfortable with it. Okay, now we'll go to the spindle gouge, which is the same thing, but I'll change this to spindles. Right down here. Right there. Okay, now I'm set up. I'm already set up to do spindle gouges. And I've already sharpened this really sharp, so I'm not gonna do that again this time. It's too hard to get it in this jig because I'm almost to the back end of my stop block, and it doesn't want to lock in very well. Well, I might be able to do this. Let's just see. Okay. Well, that got good. Alright, and the spindle gouge is the same thing. I don't even have to move this. I don't move this. I've just changed the bevel on my wheel. And if you look, that is perfectly matched up to my spindle gouge. It's a perfect matchup. Let's see if I can get in there where you can see. That bevel lays perfectly on that wheel right there. Okay, and I don't remember what this really is, but I do this one the exact same way. We'll turn on the sharpener, and I'll do it the same way. I'll go on this side, up to the top, up to the front edge, and then I'll come over here and I'll finish that cut. Okay. Wow, good Lord. Alright. Now, and that's how I do spindle gouges. Now once your bevels and all get adjusted to your setup, then you'll get the same cut every time, and you don't end up with what's left over from your grinder from years past. But that's let me show you that. Show you this spindle gouge here. I'm gonna make a cut right here. I'm just gonna come in with my spindle gouge and just cut right across there. And that's oak, and that's a nice little shaving. That thing's pulled right there. And it's I mean, it is sharp. It is very, very, very sharp. All right, and oh yeah, my scrapers. Scrapers are I use round nose scrapers, and I use my carbide tools and stuff. Use scraper type cutters. So let's see here. Let me change this back anymore. Now I've already set it up, and this will set up for my other scraper. But I'm going to change the bevel on this one to match that one. I'm going to have them all my scrapers will cut at the same bevel. So I'm going to be removing material from the top edge up there, and then eventually it'll work its way all the way to the bottom. As I sharpen, over several times, it'll eventually get to the bottom also. But this time it will only reach the top until I get my bevel set the way I want it. But here we go. And all this involves is just starting on this side, keeping it flat, and rotating it around. Okay, see if you can see that top bevel there. I think you can. Now I'm not going to go any further with that because that is very sharp. I've got a burr on the top, and it's ready to scrape right now, and if I go any further, all I'm doing is just wasting metal. So let's look right here. Let me turn this off, and we'll see what kind of shavings it pulls. Just by running a scraper across it. Let me flip that over. That thing's really pulling a good shaving and you can't see it. Let's turn it this way. See what it does. As you can see, these little curly, twisty shavings, and that's cutting against the grain. See how this works. And I'm not pressing. That thing just cuts a nice deep groove. Very, very sharp. Alright, well, that's my sharpening wood turning tools. It's very simple. The only thing you really have to be concerned with is the bevel. Getting your bevel accurate and repeatable. And if you can do that over and over, the Black Hawk jig really makes doing bowl gouges and spindle gouges really easy. I would suggest, you know, if you don't have a jig like that, you know, there's several jigs you can buy. The Wolverine system is really good system and all that, but Captain Eddie doesn't charge anything for the plans to make the Wolverine his Black Hawk jig, and it leaves an Ellsworth grind, which is what I've used for years, and it works great for me. I really like the Ellsworth grind, but I mean, if you've got a grinder, you can come up with jigs and fixtures, accessories for it, where you can sharpen almost anything. Just remember, sharpen the bevel. Always sharpening the bevel, and if you can match that, then you can sharpen anything. You can sharpen anything in your shop. This little tool right here, I built myself. It was my own design, and I like it because it doesn't overheat the steel. It's not a CBM wheel, you know, great big heavy CBM wheel, but it cost me $12, where a CBM wheel costs $150 to $200. It cuts with diamonds just like a CBM wheel does also, and which means this wheel should last me for a long time. And if it doesn't, I can get another one. And the good thing is I can get it in different grits. I can get it, I believe, from 60 to 2000 grit. This is a 500 grit, so it gives me a nice sharp edge. I don't really need to grit any finer than that, but I could take it on up to a 2000. All I have to do is swap the wheel out, and the whole system is still set up for the new wheel. So I can swap the wheel out, and I can still get my same bevels and everything from the lines I already have drawn on my little pivot right there. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. People had asked me to do a sharpening video, and I had always kind of stayed away from it just simply because there are a lot of sharpening videos out there. There's tons of different ways to sharpen your tools and get them very, very sharp. This is just one way. It's the way I do it, and you know, that's just me. But my next video is going to be sharpening woodworking tools, not wood turning tools, but woodworking tools. I'm going to be working on a table saw blade, bandsaw blade, chisels, hand plane knives, and you know, some different things like that, even Forstner bits and drill bits. So I hope y'all watch that video, and I hope you enjoy it also. And with that, I'll say good night. It's Saturday, and I'm fixing to go try to upload this video, and we'll see y'all down the road.